My grandfather asked me to conceal my identity as the president of the Aurelius Group for 3 years, and I obediently complied. Just as the 3-year agreement ended, Mason proposed a breakup, saying I couldn't help him in his career. Mason's father-in-law sent an invitation. Someone remarked, "Isn't this the groom's ex-girlfriend? What's she doing here? Here to cause trouble, right?" I turned around with a smile and said to the person, "No trouble here, this is my family's event." The candlelight flickered as I gazed with deep affection at the man I had loved for 3 years. "Darling, today is our 3-year anniversary. I have great news to share with you." The man across from me furrowed his brow slightly, his expression devoid of the joy I felt. "Let's break up." The icy words escaped Mason's lips with effortless ease, leaving me stunned. "Why?" Mason's eyes were deep and unfathomable, their meaning beyond my comprehension. I could only hope his words were meant in jest. His face remained handsome, with sharply defined features that perfectly matched my aesthetic preferences. I've always been a sucker for good looks, drawn to attractive men, even their angry expressions seemed more appealing than others. "And you dare ask me why?" "Right now, my career needs support." "What can you possibly offer me?" "Beyond laundry and cooking, mundane chores any housekeeper could handle better than you." Mason's fingers rapped heavily against the tabletop, his icy words like daggers sheathed in frost, each syllable stabbing straight into my heart. I hastily explained, "Darling, Grandpa and I had an agreement." "Actually, I am." Before I could finish my sentence, Mason abruptly cut me off. "Enough. Grandpa. You keep bringing up your grandpa all the time. At his age, he's still working odd jobs, just shows how much of a failure he was in his youth. I'm embarrassed to even mention this outside. Other men's wives come from capable, well-connected families. But look at you, you can't help me with anything, and on top of that, you brought along a burdensome grandpa." Breathing stalled. Is this how he views grandpa? Does he know that the Aurelius Group was founded by grandpa himself, and that I am the largest shareholder of the Aurelius Group, in other words, the president of the Aurelius Group? The first time he met grandpa was at another one of grandpa's ventures, inside the logistics park, where grandpa was wearing work clothes and gesturing alongside the workers. When I introduced grandpa to him, he subtly avoided grandpa's outstretched hand, glancing elsewhere. Grandpa's hand hung in midair as he smiled self-deprecatingly. Afterward, grandpa said he wasn't the right fit for me, but since I liked him, grandpa couldn't win against my stubbornness. Finally, I promised grandpa that I wouldn't get a marriage certificate, get pregnant, or reveal my identity within 3 years. Only then did grandpa agree to let me date him. I thought, what does a relationship have to do with identity? It must have been grandpa overthinking things, so I readily reached an agreement with him. At first, Mason ran a wine business, and his income was decent. He would often give me some pocket money too. As for the company matters, I always kept my promise to grandpa. I worked remotely when Mason wasn't home, making sure everything was done discreetly. The rest of the time, I was Mason's supportive partner. I was more than willing to be the woman behind him, keeping our home perfectly organized. Perhaps because my parents passed away early, my grandfather, fearing I might lack anything, never let me go without money. So, I've never been very concerned about finances. Later, I suddenly realized that Mason hadn't given me any allowance for a long time. I thought maybe his business wasn't doing well, so I never brought up money with him. I figured that once the 3-year agreement was up, I would reveal my identity, register our marriage, and let him help manage the company. I still preferred staying at home to take care of the household for him. At this moment, Mason's resolute features are filled with sarcasm and disdain, clashing sharply with his handsomeness. The celebration dinner I had carefully prepared went untouched by him as he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I remember the first time I met Mason was in the hospital corridor. He was crouched in a corner, tears streaming down his sharply defined face. I looked around, was this a celebrity filming a scene? He was so handsome. But in every direction I looked, there wasn't a single cameraman in sight. "Hello, do you need some help?" I couldn't tear my gaze away from his face. When he looked up at me, my breath nearly stopped. Among all the male employees in the company, I'd never seen anyone so handsome. He looked me up and down. "I'm fine. Thank you for your concern." If a man is shedding tears in a hospital, it must be that his parents are seriously ill. I also crouched down and asked patiently. Perhaps he was under too much pressure. He openly shared his struggles with me without hesitation. He said his mother was diagnosed with late-stage breast cancer, and since his father passed away early, they had already spent a lot on medical expenses before his death. The doctor estimated the surgery and subsequent chemotherapy would cost around 500,000 yuan. He mentioned that he was currently running a liquor store, which he had opened with borrowed money. The initial investment hadn't been recouped yet, and if he sold it now, after repaying the loans, there still wouldn't be enough to cover his mother's treatment. He was at a loss for what to do. He said his mother was his only remaining family. Seeing his despair made my heart ache faintly. I knew all too well the pain of losing a loved one. As long as there's still a chance to cure your mother, money isn't an issue. I'll lend it to you. His dim eyes lit up slightly as he looked at me again. Really? As he spoke, the light in his eyes faded once more, and he muttered to himself, "We don't even know each other. How can I accept your money? Forget it, this is just our fate, mine and my mother's. I can't drag you into it." After much persuasion, he finally gave me his bank account number and added me as a contact. When I transferred him 600,000, the moment he saw the payment notification, he was stunned. He looked at me for the third time, a flicker of something unfamiliar passing through his gaze. He might have squatted for too long, making his legs go numb. He barely managed to stand up by tugging at the hem of my clothes, apologizing as he said, "I'm sorry, your clothes must be expensive, right? I've crumpled them. Someday, when I have money, I'll buy you a better one, and I'll repay you as soon as possible. Thank you for trusting me so much." Afraid he might feel inferior, I told him my outfit was a knockoff from a luxury brand. He clearly didn't believe it, nodding with a smile. His smile was absolutely lethal. How could an ordinary person be this unfairly handsome? From then on, we chatted often, growing closer. On the day of his mother's surgery, I visited her in the hospital room. When he told his mother that I was the one who paid for the surgery, I caught the flash of greed in her eyes, but I didn't mind. Everyone has some greed, it's fine as long as it's not excessive. It wasn't until I had walked far away from the ward that I realized I had left my phone behind. From inside the ward came his mother's barely contained excitement. "Mason, you have to hold on to this girl. Who knows? If you marry her later, not only will it cost nothing, but she might even pay for you." Mason lowered his voice, his back to the ward door, but I heard every word clearly. "Mom, what are you saying? How could I rely on a woman? I want to make my own way. I really like Elena, but I honestly think your son isn't worthy of her." I don't know why, but his mother also changed her tone. "Yes, Elena is a good girl, you should cherish her." My vision was clouded, unable to see through the maliciousness of human nature. They must have known I was outside the hospital room and deliberately said those words for me to hear. In the days that followed, our relationship rapidly intensified, and his mother, having received excellent treatment, recovered completely. He inquired in detail about my family situation, such as my parents and grandfather, as well as my job and how much I made each month. He was sensitive and insecure, so I only mentioned that my parents passed away early, leaving me dependent on my grandfather, and that I was a freelance writer. I told him the money for his mother's medical treatment was painstakingly saved by my grandfather, meant for emergencies, and I was willing to give it without hesitation. I couldn't bring myself to believe that such vicious, hurtful words came from Mason's mouth. Surely he must have been dealing with work difficulties, making him irritable. I still remember 3 months after we met, when I had a fever late at night. Being allergic, there was only one type of antipyretic I could take. He insisted on taking me to the hospital, but I refused to go no matter what, because every time I enter a hospital, the painful memory of my parents passing away in a car accident resurfaces. He had to knock on the doors of 23 pharmacies before finally finding that fever-reducing medicine. By the time he returned, I had already fallen asleep. In my drowsy state, I heard his voice, tense and full of worry. Elena. Elena. Are you okay? Don't scare me. Elena. His voice woke me. I opened my eyes and saw that he was already in tears. He pulled me into a tight embrace and didn't let go for a long time. I could feel his heart pounding like a drum. 6 months into our relationship, he placed an envelope in front of me, held my hands tightly, and said, Elena, thank you for trusting me so unconditionally. I promise I won't let you down. From now on, you'll be in charge of all my money. Spend this for now, and when I make more, I'll give you even more. Although the amount wasn't large, it represented his feelings for me. Before I knew it, tears had trickled into my mouth, tasting salty. He loved me. He must have been going through some difficulties. After composing myself, I went to Mason's liquor store to see what was really going on. Since we'd been together, I'd only visited the store twice. The cashier behind the counter looked nervous when he saw me and stammered, Elena, what brings you here? Mason, he's not in the store right now. I hummed an acknowledgement and asked, how's the wine business been lately? Any difficulties? The bartender avoided eye contact. Elena, don't worry, no difficulties at all. I'll let Mason know you stopped by when he returns. I wanted to stay a bit longer and wait for Mason, but judging by the bartender's tone, it seemed like a subtle hint for me to leave. As I turned to go, a woman's coquettish voice came from the back room of the wine shop. Mason, I told you ages ago to move this chair. It just bumped my knee. Ouch, it hurts so much. With the voice trailing off, Mason's tall and straight figure emerged from the backyard. Kneeling down, he massaged the woman's knees gently with tenderness nearly spilling from his eyes, completely unaware of my presence. The bartender spoke up alertly, Mason, so you're home? Elena has come to see you. Only then did Mason notice me, a fleeting look of panic crossing his face. The woman beside him heard the commotion and walked over, crossing her arms, surveying me with a condescending air. The woman immediately spoke with biting sarcasm, oh, isn't this Mason's housekeeper? What, clinging to Mason like a big tree and refusing to let go, huh? Ever since being with Mason, everything I ate and used was from ordinary stores. Those haute couture clothes? I never wore a single piece. First, because I was afraid of making him feel inferior, and second, to honor my agreement with Grandpa. No matter what, Grandpa's intentions were for my own good, I couldn't break the old man's heart. In an instant, I understood why Mason had broken up with me. Staring straight at his face, I demanded, housekeeper? Mason. Is that how you introduced me to others? Who is she? Your new girlfriend? Mason's hand naturally rested on the woman's shoulder as he gazed at her face, his tone gentle and tinged with pride. Forgot to introduce you, this is my girlfriend, Stephanie. Her family is in the real estate business, with countless luxury cars and mansions. The expression on Mason's face at that moment made me sick. Mason, she's your girlfriend? Then what about me? You just broke up with me yesterday. Have you been two-timing all along? I'm a sucker for looks, but above all, I refuse to tolerate deception. Now that I've seen Mason's true, ugly face, he instantly became nothing to me. Before Mason could say anything, Stephanie spoke up, Mason and I have been dating for over a year. What, you didn't know? He said he has no feelings for you, and honestly, just look at yourself, where's your femininity? I admit, I haven't put much effort into my appearance these past 2 years, but Stephanie here, with her plastic surgery face and caked-on makeup, doesn't exactly strike me as a beauty either. No wonder Mason has been coming home less and less over the past year. I gave Mason a cold laugh and said, oh, so you've hitched yourself to a rich woman now. Well, congratulations. Being a kept man might be easy, but it won't necessarily sit well with you. Mason rushed over to me in 2 steps, listen here, Elena. From now on, we're done. Get out of my house immediately. Don't let me see you again. And don't you dare tell anyone you know me, I can't afford that shame. I couldn't help but laugh in anger. You're home? Have you forgotten? That house is under my name, I was the one who paid for it. I'll only keep your belongings until 8 p.m. tonight. After that, you can look for them in the trash. A furious yell erupted from behind me. Elena, you shameless vixen, how dare you try to take my son's house? He paid for it, what right do you have to claim it? Are you that desperate for money? It was Mason's mother. Your son paid for it? Are you sure? Don't forget, the money for your hospitalization and surgery was all paid by me. I'm the one who saved your life. His mother usually appeared honest, but who would have guessed she was like this? So what if you paid? You were the one who chose to spend that money while being with my son. Look at yourself, how can you even compare to Stephanie? Her family is wealthy. You're just a broke loser, always spending my son's money. And you even have a grandpa who's a laborer. You should think about that, your grandfather is so old and still has to work. It turns out she had known about Stephanie all along but kept it hidden. Even more disgusting was Mason, enjoying my care while calling someone else his girlfriend outside. Our argument drew a crowd, and some people quickly pieced together what was happening. What kind of family is this? They have no morals. That poor girl paid for medical expenses, and she's not even grateful. She's enabling her son to be a mooch. He's a grown man, willingly living off someone else, how pathetic. Ha ha ha. The onlookers chattered away, and seeing the situation take a bad turn, Stephanie and Mason quickly tried to pull their mother back inside the store. From the crowd, an exaggerated voice rang out, "Oh. Isn't this Elena, the CEO of Aurelius Group? What brings you here? And who are these people?" I followed the voice and spotted Caden, a prominent figure in the city. Everyone turned to look at me, their faces filled with astonishment. Someone murmured under their breath, "What? The CEO of Aurelius Group? Really? She's so young." Stephanie and Mason looked me up and down, then burst into uncontrollable laughter. How ridiculous. Just to steal a man, you're even role-playing now? Take a good look at yourself, where's the CEO vibe? More like a tailor at best. It's been over 3 years since the president of Aurelius Group returned to the country, yet no one has ever seen her true face. And now someone's trying to impersonate her, what a huge joke. They even hired extras. Ha ha ha. Stephanie's voice was dripping with sarcasm, piercingly grating. She walked over to me with a few steps, looking down her nose at me. You admire Aurelius Group? Well, beg me then. I can take you inside Aurelius Group to broaden your horizons. I furrowed my brows slightly. You're taking me to Aurelius Group? Do you work there? I don't recall Aurelius Group ever having such shameless employees. Stephanie, thinking I was envious, became even more haughty, lifting her chin up high. My father is the chief steward of Aurelius Group. At Aurelius Group, who wouldn't address him with the respectful title of steward? If you want to work at Aurelius Group, I can have my dad arrange a toilet cleaning job for you, the pay isn't bad either. Stephanie burst into laughter, her slender frame shaking, while Mason not only failed to stop her but even joined in. Elena, get the hell out of here. Don't let me see you again. What an embarrassment. How could I have been so blind as to associate with someone like you? Caden had already approached me, sneering. Elena, why don't you look into how Nelson the steward at Aurelius Group ended up with luxury cars and mansions? Mason glared at Caden and me disdainfully. What, still obsessed with acting? Go ahead and check then. I'd love to see how you'll keep up the charade. Must have cost you a fortune to hire this actor. A dog bites me, but I'm not going to bite back. There's no point in arguing. I turned and walked away as the mocking voices of Mason and Stephanie faded into the distance. Only then did I speak up. What are you doing here? When did you return to the country? Caden looked displeased. Came back ages ago. Didn't I leave you a message on your phone? Didn't you see it? I smiled apologetically and admitted honestly, sorry, I saw it. but I forgot right after reading. Caden was exasperated. After not seeing him for years, this guy seemed to have matured quite a bit and become more good-looking than before. Indeed, men only get handsomer with age. Soon, the investigation results revealed that Stephanie's father was indeed the butler of Aurelius Group, Nelson. He was primarily in charge of all sorts of company purchases and employee benefits. Luxury cars and mansions? Aurelius Group treats its employees well, but luxury cars and mansions, that's definitely excessive for a butler. Sure enough, the private investigator in charge of the investigation sent new information. Stephanie's father had been taking advantage of his position to line his own pockets. He had his brother-in-law act as a supplier, then sold the goods at high prices to the Aurelius Group, splitting the profits 50-50. With the Aurelius Group's annual procurement amount reaching tens of millions, no wonder he could afford luxury cars and mansions. Mason and Stephanie met at a cocktail party. Stephanie, leveraging the Aurelius Group's reputation, opened a fine wine shop that was doing quite well. At that cocktail party, Mason happened to pick up an admission pass and originally planned to sneak in just to broaden his horizons, so he could later brag about it to his friends. Unexpectedly, his striking appearance caught Stephanie's eye. Just like how I had been drawn to him initially, starting with his looks, Mason also happened to be someone who knew exactly how to charm women and win people over. Over the past year or so, Mason had developed a gambling addiction and accumulated massive debts. The income from his liquor business was nowhere near enough to cover them, which was when he met Stephanie. Stephanie, with her lavish spending, stepped in to pay off Mason's debts. It was during that period that Mason came home later and later, losing patience with everything at home. He had already changed long ago, but I was too blinded by my love for him to notice his transformation. My grandpa, who hadn't touched alcohol in years, made an exception and poured himself half a glass of red wine, unable to hide the smile on his face. I rolled my eyes. "Grandpa, can you at least try to keep a straight face? Your granddaughter just got dumped, and you're this happy? Is this how a proper grandpa should be acting?" Grandpa struggled to hold back his laughter. Yes, I should be sad, but I really can't bring myself to feel sad about this, ha ha ha. Grandpa took a sip of wine. Back then, I could tell that kid was no good. When I wore my worker's clothes and went to shake his hand, he dodged it. Pretended not to see. I knew right away, he was a snob who judges people by their wealth, just a pretty face with nothing inside. Yes, if only I had listened to Grandpa back then. Why waste time on such a scumbag? I raised my glass. "Old chairman, rest assured. Starting tomorrow, I'll dedicate myself to managing the company. You, sir, can go travel and enjoy life. Everything at home will be left to me." Grandpa was grinning so wide his eyes disappeared. Good. I've been waiting 3 years to hear you say that. The next day, I showed up at the company. Just the day before, my grandfather couldn't wait to go fishing with his old friends, leaving a pile of company matters directly in my hands. In the 3.5 years since returning to the country, no one has seen what I look like. I never turned on the camera during video conferences. I overheard female employees whispering, "Who would have thought our chairwoman would be so young and beautiful?" The company was in the middle of negotiating a major international project. Freshly taking over, my schedule was packed to the brim. Even trips to the restroom had to be quick. The constant stream of schedule reminders from my assistant left me with no time to deal with Mason, that scumbag, and certainly no time to wallow in self-pity. I had just set down the documents in my hands and was massaging my temples when my phone rang. "Elena, Stephanie and I are getting married next Sunday. I hope you can come. After all, our wedding is going to be quite the event." Stephanie said she's invited the CEO of Aurelius Group to attend. "The main reason I'm inviting you is to broaden your horizons, unless you're too scared to come." When Mason didn't hear a response from me, he must have thought I was afraid and resorted to taunting. I replied with a smile, "Oh, really? That's great. I've never seen such a grand occasion before. Don't worry, I'll set aside my work for now. I'll definitely be there." Mason was somewhat irritated. "What's so funny? Think I'm bragging?" Just don't be so stunned later that you can't even speak. And don't you dare claim to be my ex, I'd be embarrassed. Before he could finish, I interrupted, don't worry, I'll be there on time. Mason still wanted to say more, but I hung up. Soon after, I received the invitation sent by Stephanie's father. This was my first time meeting Aurelius Group's chief steward, Nelson. I heard from grandfather that all logistics and procurement matters of the company are handled by you. Do you have a clear understanding of every detail of the incoming and outgoing transactions? Stephanie's father stood there respectfully, yes, President. I am fully acquainted with every detail of the company's outbound and inbound records, without the slightest negligence. I nodded, good, thank you for your hard work. I will definitely attend your daughter's wedding on time. Stephanie's father left with endless gratitude. Standing by the floor-to-ceiling window, I gazed at the myriad lights of the city, knowing it was time to bring everything to a conclusion. Caden, are you free to attend a wedding with me next Sunday? I dialed Caden's number. Caden replied mischievously, at your call, I'm always ready to come. It would be even better if the bride were you and the groom me. How about having dinner together tomorrow night? Sure. Actually, there's something I want to tell you. The next day, Caden reserved a table at the most famous Chinese restaurant in town, where even a plate of fried rice costs 400 yuan. Caden, there's no need to be so extravagant. It's not like it's your first time treating me to a meal. I teased as I sat down. Our families have been close friends for generations. From elementary to high school, we attended the same school. At some point, his family business underwent changes, and he moved abroad with his mother. When my parents passed away, Caden was like a father and an elder brother to me, returning to stay with me for 2 months until I was emotionally stable enough, after which he left again. The elders all assumed we would become a couple. Our families have business dealings with each other, and our financial standings are comparable, truly a match made in heaven. But I just didn't have that kind of feeling for Caden, and there was nothing the elders could do about it. Caden mentioned he wasn't planning to leave this time and wanted to develop his career domestically. He said the moon looks rounder here, and the sun feels warmer. He also added that there were people here he couldn't let go of. Throughout the meal, his smile never faded, and I couldn't figure out why he was so happy. Caden, why are you as happy as my grandpa? Just because I broke up? Caden nodded with a smile, not denying it at all. Suddenly, he became serious. Elena, I like you. I've liked you since we were kids, but I didn't realize it was love. Later, when I heard you had a boyfriend, I was heartbroken. That's when I confirmed my true feelings. I came back just for you. I hope you'll give me a chance to pursue you. His sudden confession startled me. Caden, stop joking. Before I could finish, he interrupted, Elena, I'm serious. These 3 years, every day has felt like an eternity. In fact, I returned long ago. I often went to your neighborhood just to catch a glimpse of you secretly. Just seeing you once was enough to make me happy. Seeing how earnest and nervous he was, I pretended to be carefree. Fine, since you're so persistent, I'll give you a chance. Really? That's wonderful. Caden was overjoyed like a child, almost jumping up before eagerly adding more dishes to my bowl. Only then did I realize, all the dishes on the table were my favorites. It was rare for him to remember every single one. After all, even after being with Mason for 3 years, he'd never recalled my dislike for cilantro. There really is a difference between love and non-love. I told Caden about Stephanie's father's misdeeds, and he insisted I report it to the police, calling it professional misconduct. As fate would have it. Right as Caden and I stepped out of the restaurant, Mason and Stephanie pulled up in their car, stopping right in front of us. The car window rolled down, and the coquettishly dressed Stephanie sat in the passenger seat. Oh, here to apply as a dishwasher, aren't you? Still with your extra actor friend? You two must have been together for a while now. Mason's gaze flickered with a hint of suspicion as he looked at me, but quickly, he put on a brave front. Never ridden in a car this nice before, huh? Why don't you hop in, and I'll give you a ride? Let you experience what a luxury car feels like. Under Mason and Stephanie's stunned gazes, Caden casually pressed a button on his key fob, unlocking the limited edition sports car parked nearby. Elena, who is he? Were you cheating on me all along? I never knew you were so shameless. That car must be rented, it has to be. Otherwise, how could you two possibly afford something like that? Caden roughly grabbed Mason by the collar, his gaze icy. Mason, right? Watch your mouth. Open your damn eyes and see clearly. Elena is the CEO of Aurelius Group. Now, she's my girlfriend. If you dare insult her again, I'll make you regret it. Stephanie sneered with disdain. You're Caden? Caden from Ravenwood Consortium? Huh. What a perfect match you two are, both such good actors. Emboldened by Stephanie, Mason taunted me with a smirk. You think wearing a few knockoff designer clothes and stepping into high-end places makes you a socialite? A country bumpkin putting on airs, how pathetic. What else can you do besides laundry and cooking? CEO of Aurelius Group? Keep dreaming. Caden suddenly released his grip on Mason's collar, sending him stumbling backward before he crashed to the ground. Mason, don't worry, I'll make sure to attend your wedding on time and prepare a big gift for you both. It'll be quite a surprise. After saying that, ignoring Mason's grumbling, I grabbed Caden and left. In the rearview mirror was Mason's stubborn face. He still refused to believe that I was the CEO of Aurelius Group. Caden drove while carefully observing my mood, tentatively asking, "Are you okay?" I smiled and said, "It's fine." The worse he is, the easier it is for me to let go. I really regret not listening to Grandpa back then. Should have seen through him for who he is from the start. Caden let out a long sigh and resumed his usual flippant tone. If we'd listened to Grandpa earlier, our kids would be running around by now. Caden and Stephanie's wedding venue was chosen at the century-old manor ballroom. What he didn't know was that this was our family's property. It seems Nelson really doesn't spare any expense for his daughter. This isn't a place just anyone can afford to book. I don't know when Mason appeared in front of me, his face full of smugness and pride. Holding a wine glass, he looked at me thoughtfully. TSK, put on a couple of nice outfits, and I must say, you really do look the part. Seeing his triumphant expression, I really wanted to slap him hard, but alas, we live in a society governed by law. Go attend to your bride. There's a surprise waiting for you later. Mason's face darkened. If you had dressed up nicely earlier, I might not have dumped you. Are you regretting it now? Is that why you're all dolled up to seduce me? I cleared my throat. The one who might regret it isn't me, the real show is about to begin. Stephanie, clad in a red gown with heavy makeup, swayed over in her high heels. Mason, why are you even talking to her? Oh, that dress must be a knockoff. Can't afford the real thing, so a fake will do, huh? I raised my glass. Happy wedding. Wait for my big gift. Stephanie scoffed disdainfully and turned to survey the banquet hall. Have you ever seen such a grand occasion? Look at that chandelier, it's custom made. And see the embroidery along the edge of the carpet? It's the initials of Mason and me. All carefully arranged by Mason. Caden couldn't hold back a laugh. Indeed, Mason's design is truly impressive. Soon enough, we'll all get to experience what it feels like to be trampled underfoot. Stephanie flushed red with anger. You. Caden raised an eyebrow with an unconcerned smirk. Please welcome the bride and groom to the stage, our wedding is about to begin. The host's magnetic voice echoed through the hall. I overheard someone nearby whispering, who is that girl? Is that Caden next to her? I think I've seen her in a magazine, they make such a handsome couple. Who knew Mason had such classy friends? Another voice chimed in, isn't that the groom's ex-girlfriend? What's she doing here? Looking for trouble, huh? I turned around with a smile and said to the person, no trouble here, this is my family's event. Mason, having caught wind of the murmurs, cast a scornful glance back at Caden. After about 20 minutes, the wedding officially began. At the host's invitation, Nelson took the stage and expressed his gratitude to the guests attending the wedding, exuding the demeanor of a successful man. After the pleasantries, his tone shifted to one of ingratiation. Today, we have a very important guest, and also my direct superior. I'm deeply grateful that she could attend my daughter's wedding. Please welcome Elena from the Aurelius Group to come on stage and officiate the wedding ceremony for my daughter. I hadn't anticipated this segment and was still wondering how to make my grand entrance. Well, here comes the opportunity. In my high heels, I walked steadily and slowly toward the stage. Everyone turned their gaze toward the back of the venue, and the silence was so profound you could hear the rhythm of breathing. As I stepped into the brightest spotlight, Stephanie and Mason's pupils dilated several times, their faces filled with shock. Stephanie tugged at her father's sleeve, looking as if she'd seen a ghost. "Daddy, are you really inviting her on stage? Surely you must be mistaken." Nelson curled his lips into a smile. "Yes, Stephanie, our CEO is young and accomplished, a woman who rivals even the most capable men. Having her give a speech at your wedding is your father's way of letting you bask in her glory." Mason, his already large eyes widening further. "Elena, you're really the CEO of Aurelius Group? Tell me it isn't true. You must have bribed my father-in-law." "Yes. You must have bought his favor." I didn't look at him, instead exchanging glances with Caden in the audience. Nelson held the microphone and introduced me to the guests below. I nodded slightly in acknowledgement. I took the microphone. "Distinguished guests, my sincerest apologies. I believe many of you here are key members and elites of our Aurelius Group. I take this opportunity to announce that Aurelius Group's manager, Nelson, has been abusing his position for personal gain." Before I could finish, Stephanie snatched the microphone. "Don't listen to her nonsense. She's clearly jealous that I took her boyfriend. Everyone should know, my husband is Elena's ex-boyfriend. This is just her using her position to settle a personal grudge. It's slander." Nelson was stunned by this sudden turn of events and hadn't yet regained his composure. I took the other microphone handed to me by my assistant. "Today, we have invited colleagues from the Disciplinary Inspection Committee. They will ensure Nelson gets justice. We won't wrongfully accuse our own employees." It took Nelson a long while to regain his composure, staring at me in disbelief. "Nelson, I have a lot of evidence in my possession. I believe I don't need to say more." Mason's expression changed, and he came over to take my hand, but I dodged him in disgust. Mason said with a fawning expression, "Elena, I was just putting on a show with her. I truly love you. I hope you can forgive me. Let's be good together. I promise I'll treat you well. Elena, I love you." It was Stephanie who seduced me, and I couldn't resist the temptation. "I'll change. I swear I'll change, isn't that enough?" Stephanie grabbed Mason's arm frantically, hysterical. "Mason, what are you saying? You love me. You can't change your heart. Mason." Mason shook off Stephanie's arm in disgust, causing her head to hit the chair. With a sharp scream, Stephanie grabbed a fruit knife from nowhere and stabbed it between Mason's legs. Mason let out a pig-slaughtering howl, clutching the spot with both hands, his face deathly pale. The scene quickly turned chaotic. Stephanie's eyes were bloodshot, gleaming with malice as she turned and lunged at me, the sharp blade inches from reaching me. Caden sprang onto the stage in one swift move, kicking the weapon from Stephanie's hand. The police and disciplinary inspection comrades arrived and took Nelson away. Mason, suspected of operating a gambling den, was also detained. Mason received a corresponding punishment and was fined a substantial amount, but due to his unhealed injuries, the execution was postponed. Nelson was convicted of favoritism and profiting from massive gains, sentenced to 7 years in prison, with all his assets reclaimed by the company. Stephanie was sentenced for the crime of intentional harm. 1 year later, under the bright sun on the lush green lawn, I wore a pure white wedding dress as my grandfather held my hand and placed it in Caden's. Grandfather smiled with contentment, and Caden was as happy as a child. In the sky, 2 clouds bloomed beautifully like flowers. They must have been my father and mother.